My name's Sean Dustin, and I'm talking to the folks over on TikTok right now. And then I'm joined by Thomas Freemy, who's also Ali Ismail 98 invite to join live. So do people just try to join that? Yeah, because I'm not sure. But
On
anyways,
TikTok.
yeah.
Yeah,
So if you
so
want to, if you
yeah, people
go ahead.
people when you're live on TikTok, if you when you go live in the settings, you can change uh your format kind of say. So if you have like chat or maybe gaming or something like that, I believe people will try to join you, but that's pretty cool
Okay.
sometimes too, but
Okay.
not
Okay.
here.
All right, so I'm getting instruction from my homie Thomas Freemy over there, who's going to join me on TikTok, and we're going to do a show today for all you guys on TikTok. We're streaming on a whole bunch of different platforms right now, and so if you want to catch this live stream where you can see Thomas and you can see me and you can interact on our YouTube or Facebook, do me a favor. You can go over to SeanDustin.com and you can get to my YouTube channel. You should be able to go right into my profile or my bio in on TikTok, and then that link will take you directly to my website or my pod page, and then go to my YouTube link. I know it's a lot to go through, but if you just want to just listen to me, because you're not going to be able to hear Thomas, but you can hear me. If you want to just watch me do my thing, that's cool too. Um, are you gonna come join me over on TikTok?
Yeah, I'm setting up on the TikTok now. I'm trying to oh, I see you.
All right. So while you do that, and let me know when you do, because some other folks are trying to go like invite. Pow, there you go. I got you. Invite sent. All right, so as soon as we get him on here, and I think we got him coming right down there, I'm going to start this presentation.
I need to get set up.
Now, if I turn down, because they're gonna hear you too if we're joining. So if I turn the volume down, will it turn the mic volume down as well?
What do you mean on the TikTok? I got the volumes down on my TikTok. See, now I can hear
Okay, let
you.
me do that too. All right, can you hear me now still?
The blue pillow. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool. All right, thank you everybody for joining so far. I had to turn that down. So we're going to start this off by introducing who we are. My name is Sean Dustin. Like I said, I host the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. You can find all of that on my website, which is www.seandustin.com. I'm joined by Thomas Freemy, and he's out of
Thank you. Thank you.
Tampa, and he's got a podcast or YouTube channel called The Thomas Freemy Show. And we are both ex felons. We've both been to prison. We've both got a comeback story, and we both decided that we wanted to change and turn our lives around and do the right thing and help other folks that were in our similar situation. For me, along the way, 2020 happened, and I had no choice but to take a look at what's going on and how different life has become in the last 3 years, and I decided to start talking about it. So we're going to keep this though YouTube friendly. So we're not gonna we might be using code words for the thing that we went through the last 3 years. We might be using code words for other stuff, and that's just so we don't get our content zapped off of YouTube, because we're both going live on YouTube as well. So I don't want to jeopardize Thomas's channel as well as my own, because I've already got two community violation content, whatever those things are called that you get over there. They try to zap you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Thomas, go ahead and let everybody know who you are and what you can do. Although I kind of did, but let's
I
hear it
mean,
from you.
good morning, everybody. This is Thomas Freemy. You can just simply Google that name, Thomas Freemy, and find all my platforms. And essentially, that's it. I got a following on TikTok, YouTube, and such, and we really just talk about what's going on in America, man. My biggest thing is bringing attention to what the prison industrial system really is, and trying to get Americans to understand that we're enslaved. We're slaves. So maybe we can clear up some of that today. Essentially, what that means. My biggest message is that a lot of the crime that we see today is fabricated and created in our communities, for the sake of fear mongering and such. And really, that's it. That's Thomas Freeman in a nutshell. But at the end of the day, it's all about personal choice, and that is what a lot of my awareness is. Although we'll talk a lot of what these issues are, at the end of the day, it's about personal choice. So I think what you and I and several of us do is bring awareness to these things. We're not really broadcasting blame towards them. We're just bringing awareness that these entities are out there to manipulate us if we're not being aware. So it's really just about being aware of everything that we're doing.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, man. And thank you for that. So let's get to it, man. The first thing that I want to talk about, and it kind of just because of my background as an addict, I want to talk about the fentanyl problem and kind of how that's, in my opinion, I have a perspective on how that's sort of related to something that happened way back in the 1800s, between China and Great Britain. And so, first of all, I'm going to show a video of, from the Joe Rogan podcast where Dr. Phil was on, and it was a pretty good. Uh, Hold on a second.
I like
It was a
Dr.
pretty
Phil.
good. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Dr. Phil's not a bad dude. I don't think that he's one of those that's on board with the narrative pushing. He's just one of those folks that got to where he was just from whatever. I mean, I know he was connected to Oprah Winfrey, and she doesn't have a very good
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Let's
reputation.
say him and Oprah are best friends, so I keep an eagle eye on him. But
Yeah, yeah.
I like his
It's
advice.
I do too. I actually went to a party once where he was at. That dude's hella tall,
Mm.
down in LA. So, anyways, he had a perspective on the Joe Rogan podcast where he felt like all of the fentanyl that's coming up through our southern borders through from the Sinaloa cartel, coming from China. He thinks that that's a terrorist attack just because of the amount of people that are dying from the fentanyl overdoses. And this clip doesn't show that, but if you go and listen to the Joe Rogan clip, the whole thing, he does talk about this. But I'm just going to give you the perspective of what they're talking about
Mhm.
from that. So I'm going to go and play that right now. All right, come on, Mr. Player, play. All right, well, we're waiting for that to load up. Yeah, and I think this the fentanyl problem, I think, really comes back to something that happened in the 1800s with the Opium Wars, and how Great Britain, which is still considered the left, I mean, not the left, but the West, and we are just an extension of Great Britain through history because that's where we came from. That's where we were settled from. I don't know why this thing's not playing, man. Come on.
Well, I could tell you this, while we wait on this, but it's one thing for sure is, I've been a drug dealer my whole life, for the most part. That's really the only trade that I've ever learned. Um, as far as
I don't care if you
is it going?
No, go ahead. I have to
So
put it up to the part.
when instances would arise where uh I don't know, I'm trying to think of times where we would, what you would say, flood the market. When we knew that things were going on politically, or that we could take advantage of a certain situation to push more product through, we always took advantage of that. No question, because we're in it to make money. This is what we do. We're always looking for advantages to to get our drugs to from point A to point B safely, right? So, I mean, I think Joe Rogan is onto something when he says that, of course, and the Sinaloa cartel and any other cartel would see this as a great opportunity to get their drugs into America because of this political regime that we got going on that is allowing individuals just to come across our border as it appears. Now, I have not been to the border personally. I don't know what the hell is going on. I only get my information from TikToks, people that are concerned citizens that I know are truth tellers. They're trying to bring the truth. These are American citizens. This is who I try to keep on my channels, because for me, this is a network. I don't want people just to come on to agree with me. Last thing I want to just sit here with a bunch of nodding heads. You know what I mean? I want people that are active. I want community people that are out there that are reporting back, that we're keeping in touch with one another and talking about what's going on in our community. So these are the videos that I see. So I believe in what I'm seeing when they show them to me. So I mean, if I was a kingpin, you know, there's no question I would be trying to push everything that I could through.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that too. And some of the problems that you see is, and for those of you who are watching this who are freedom first folks, and you know you're screaming right now as we're talking about TikTok and going, oh my God, the enemy, you guys are talking about TikTok and they're trying to rule the world. The problem with TikTok, and this is Adam Curry's, if anybody knows who Adam Curry is the podcast godfather. Basically, he's the one that invented podcasts and had probably the first one. And so his take on it, and if he's got I heard this on the Joe Rogan podcast as well, but he also has his own podcast called The No Agenda. And he's had that one for a long time. And he talks about all this stuff over there too. But his take on TikTok and the whole, China's trying to spy on you through TikTok is that TikTok's algorithm, to be honest with you, nobody can compete with it. It's
Mm.
so good, and they can't figure out how they got it, that they don't want them to compete against in Silicon Valley and Facebook and all of these other Instagram and Twitter and all of these other platforms are already connected to Washington. They go there, they go to Capitol Hill and they tell their things and do their stuff. And so why wouldn't they lobby uh the government, the people that they're already kind of in bed with? If you've been watching anything on the Twitter files and what Elon has basically uncovered over there, which was the FBI and CIA and the three-letter agencies, you name it, were all in bed with TikTok and censoring information around the 3 year ago thing that happened, the big P and the big V thing, censoring information about where through the government. So basically using TikTok, or not TikTok, but using social media platforms that were in bed with them to do the bidding for the government and censoring people. Which, okay, our constitution says you can't suppress or censor anybody through the freedom of speech, right? Well, all these companies are private platforms, so they don't have to do that. But if the government's telling them to do that, that's cheating. So that all came out. And so like it's just crazy, all the things that are coming out right now. So let's get back on to the topic of the fentanyl. I'm gonna play this clip with Dr. Phil and Joe Rogan. And Dr. Phil's gonna talk about Snapchat and how these drugs and these pills are being sold through Snapchat.
Mhm.
Putting these things up on Snapchat and then
Okay.
you order them on the internet?
Yeah, here's the deal. Fentanyl is synthetic. Okay, it's all being generated or synthesized in China. And then China is sending it to the Sinaloa cartel. And the cartel is then turning it into these pills. And then these pills are coming into America. And the DEA estimates that they are intercepting about 10%. And what they are intercepting is enough to kill every American.
So that's pretty alarming right there, just that in itself. You've got enough fentanyl coming across our borders just in what they catch. The 10% of what they catch is enough to kill every American. So you got to ask yourself, what kind of a business model does killing your clients, you know what I mean? The way that you make money and your profit, how does that equate? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it makes sense to me, right? But I'm labeled as a conspiracy theorist. You know what I mean? So for me, it's along the lines of going back to the Rick Ross trials and the CIA allowing their cocaine to come in and using Rick Ross as a filter to fund their wars, right? Now, just all we have to do is follow the money and follow the timeline, right? So, using this model, knowing that this existed, this is factual. Oliver North, the trials, all of these things. Ronald Reagan was using they started the crack epidemic, our own government, right? So knowing that they allowed these pill mills to flourish the way that they did, and knowing that those pill mills, these doctors that were allowed to just recklessly prescribe medication all over America, created this epidemic that we're now looking at now, that we're facing now, right? So knowing these things, now why this fentanyl thing? Okay, the government has shown that it really does not care about a certain poverty line. You see what I'm saying? When you reach a certain tax bracket, when you get so low on that tax bracket, you're kind of expendable. You know what I mean? Because they know that us in the poor community, we're having 4 and 5 kids at a whop. We're creating what we're creating here in the poor communities, and they're trying to control that every which way that they can, whether it be in mass incarceration, killing us, overdosing us. You got CPS attacking our children, the foster care system, all of these avenues to try to control us here in the poor community, right? Because these aren't rich people problems. Rich people have 1 or 2 kids and they go off to college, you know what I mean? And they're producing 6 figures themselves. These are poor
And
people
also,
problems.
yeah, and then also too, poor people can't afford to start a pill mill, right? They can't afford to do all of the legwork that it takes to put all these things in place. And there was dude, Joe Rogan has so many good people. So there was a lady that did the series called Trafficked, and she did the whole the Oxycontin Express, and that's
Mm.
down in your area where they had all those pill mills where you could literally go just right around to the next building. You get your prescription and you get it filled in the next building. And so, I mean, that's a huge conflict of interest, but some legislation somewhere, some law somewhere was overlooked or was just pushed through and allowed because these folks that were allowing this, some of these, like Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I mean, that's a super corrupt name right there, from the Clinton era. But all of these people are making money. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just how they're connected, man. I mean, every small city is just a microcosm of the national scene, and you know what I mean, and how things work over there, even into the unions, right? Because I belong to a union, and that's laid out on the same principles, the democratic process, and that's a smaller microcosm of even that. And so they all work sort of the same way, and it's sort of crazy. Half the time people, like even in my union, have no idea how the union works, just like people in our country have no idea how the government works. They don't have no idea what fiat currency is. They have no idea what the gold standard was. They don't know shit
Nope.
because they just watch the mainstream media that is not informing you, it's misinforming you. So let's go to this next one, and and this is gonna tie in my perspective on the opium wars from the 1800s, and kind of like giving you an idea of what we did to China way back then. Not us, but Great Britain. And Great Britain is like before us, like before the United States, because that's where we all came from. They migrated over west to the United States, and then they slaughtered all the Indians and killed all them with disease. That's kind of interesting, huh? How they use disease to wipe things out. Oh man, nothing new under the sun, my friend.
No, I mean that's the whole thing is why reinvent the wheel?
Oop, sorry.
They have the tools and the techniques that they know and have been proven throughout time to work on people. The only ones that are duped are us because we don't know that we're being manipulated in this fashion. You know, it's kind of like a lot of how certain individuals will smile in your face and promise you the world, and as soon as you turn away from this individual, they're looking to cut your throat. You know, it's a lot of what we deal with.
All right, so I'm pulling this one. It didn't come in like I wanted it to, so give me a second. I'm gonna bring in this video.
But no, you're absolutely correct, man. You know, these people are so asleep. They have no idea.
I know. I showed they live all.
Is that
All
it?
right, sorry about that. Yeah, that's one of them. This will tell them a little bit of the history of that. It's kind of a dumb one, but it's the one that I found that was probably the better of the explanations, because I just used TikTok. Actually, there's one. Here's one. I think this was the one that I liked.
Let me see some of these
The
comments.
Opium Wars that occurred between 1839 and 1860 were avoidable. They were two armed conflicts between China and Britain because China didn't want opium brought in and traded. Although Britain acknowledged that opium was bad and banned it in their own country, it was a major economic driver for them. China lost both times, although they were in the right for not wanting opium when Britain themselves acknowledged it was bad. The Opium Wars
Can you hear
ultimately
that?
ended in the expansion of Hong Kong by Britain. However, this all could have been avoided if Britain had just acknowledged that if it's not good for them, it's probably not good for China either.
All right, so that was a little bit of the history on that. There's way more to that, but the reason why I chose that is because that's kind of what happened. So we were trading with teeth from India to China, or no, it was something we were trading something from India for tea, right?
The
And
Brits, the
then
British.
yeah, the British were. And so China no longer wanted what they had to offer, right? And so they had to figure out something to get them to continue trading, right? And so what they did is they switched what they were getting from India to opium, and they were trading and shooting opium into China. And so the Chinese, whoever was the president at the time or the government at the time was like, whoa, 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 no, no, no. Our people are getting addicted. You know what I mean? Our society is in ruins. We got opium dens everywhere. Everything was going to shit, right? We really put them back probably like 50 to 100 years societally. You know what I mean? We handicapped them. And so I think that this is payback. The fentanyl problem, because of where it's coming from, this is payback just for the 1800s. You know what I mean? They're doing the same thing to us that we did to them. And that's my perspective on it.
And nobody keeps records like the Chinese, right? Nobody has kept documented truth like the Chinese, right? Because the truth is not about altering history. The Chinese Asians really understand the importance of truth and passing that down and such. Only in America, man, only us do we feel like it's okay to alter history, the truth, to protect our emotions for the now and living. But I think that 2 sets of records are being taken. You know, I really honestly am starting to believe, Sean, that we are we're hamsters, man, like full through. You know what I mean? They are just grinding our lives out because we always have to keep in the context that this is generational. This doesn't occur just in my life and your life. They're attacking our children's children. They have plans for our grandchildren's children. You know what I mean? They've already have the pipe works and the groundwork laid out to how enslave them. It's not about us anymore. That's why I say when we come and we get wiped out, something happens where 40 of us get wiped out, 200 of us get wiped out, or 2,000 of us in the World Trade Center, they don't care. They could care less because they're not focused on us. If we're 30, 40 years old, they already see us as expendable because our life expectancy is dwindling down and we cannot produce the work that we could when we were 18, 20. That is where their focus is at.
Well, and two, technology has advanced so fast that we have AI that's coming out and taking the place of a lot of different jobs. From, you know, long haul trucking is being outsourced to electric autonomous vehicles, you know, truck vehicles. And for that long stretch, they're using auto piloted trucks. And then once they get outside of the city, and this is already happening and being done uh in Silicon Valley right now. There's a company out there that's testing this stuff out, and they're moving forward with it. And so this is happening. And so they're going to have all these jobs that are outsourced to AI, and you have all these people that you're going to have nothing to do with, right? What are you going to do with these people? And so that's why you hear, you know, rumors of the UBI and all these other things, the Oculus Quest, and, you know, the VR world. You're going to need something for these people to do that don't have anything to do. And if you take away their ability to make money and their ability to survive, you're going to have societal unrest, and possibly some sort of an uprising, right? Because when you can't get a hold of food, that's usually the marker, right? When food's scarcity becomes an issue, that's when societies start going nuts. Just look at, you know, some of the other countries on the across the pond that's happened recently. I don't remember off the top of my head where they are, but I do remember reading a whole bunch about it. So if you're watching on TikTok, because we had a whole bunch of people on there, like 200 folks, but the problem is you guys can't hear what I'm putting on there. So for you guys, go to my my link in my bio and go into either, you know, my YouTube or my Facebook channel, and we're going live over there. And so you can participate in the comments and everything else, and I can pull those up right there. Both Thomas and myself can pull up the comments and we can respond to them. Like we just pulled up one right now that just came up. That would be the easiest way. Basically, I wish that there was something that I could put right on the screen that will direct you to where you need to go, but I can't. So I'm gonna have to check in with you periodically. So go over there and you'll be able to participate in the comments, and you'll hear all of the things that we're gonna be playing, as that was the second portion. Now we're going to be talking about train derailments next. So we got Recovery Soul Food. They were getting our generation ready for it through the movies. They were.
You froze on TikTok.
Did I?
Yeah, on my TikTok, you froze.
Your TikTok is going. You can hear yourself in the background on yours. So Recovery Soul Food left a message, and they said they were getting our generation ready for this through the movies they were making in the 80s and 90s, etc. We got to realize that we as divine humans are one and come together. No, that's true. I mean, we are basically all sort of the same. We just been divided in a lot of different ways through a lot of different methods over the years. And then the icing on the cake was the last 3 years, right? Because that's, you know, where they missed, you know, portions of the population in the division. They really made it up in the last 3 years because they sure as hell gained a lot of traction in dividing the public. All right, hold on. I got my daughter over here making noise and needing some attention. So go ahead and take over for just a second while I set up this next clip.
No, I mean, well, but that's everything that you said is spot on, and going back to what I was saying earlier, about these Americans and how ill informed they are. When we're talking about our banking system, centralized banking, we're talking about the Fed, understanding how the Fed controls our economy when they come out with these inflations and such. Understanding who the Fed is, understanding how our presidents were assassinated over trying to get rid of this Fed and not even allow them into our nation. When you get into Woodrow Wilson, people want to talk about how great the Democrats have been for this nation. When we sit down and we look at the aftermath of these people and their decisions throughout their presidency that laid the groundwork for why we are where we're at today, you look at Woodrow Wilson and his administration and what they did by allowing centralized banking into our nation. These are the issues. Centralized banking is sucking our nation dry. It still froze over here on TikTok, man. We lost our whole crowd. What happened?
Yeah, I know, man. It went down to 16. I'm not sure what happened,
Well, on
but
my
there are still some
TikTok,
people.
you're just froze like in a breakdancing pose.
Although you know what, I caught a dude. TikTok's the devil when you really think about it when it comes to time, because that thing just sucks time. As soon as you start going scrolling through there, man, a half hour goes by. Well, but I'm laughing the whole time, man. No other app does that.
It's I made a TikTok. It's funny you said that because I made a TikTok about that where something along the lines of when I told my girl, which I just make this stuff up, I'm single, but I told my girl that I'd be in the bed at 10 o'clock and it's 4 a.m. and I'm out, looking all crazy and wired just with TikTok in my face, but these are the issues. This goes into what we're talking about, Sean, when we talk about these distractions and whatnot, right? All of these are distractions. Everything is a distraction from self. The moment our eyes open to the moment they go till they go, close for you to go to sleep, we as a human being are being marketed to. Every aspect, every moment of our lives, we are being marketed to try to get our money, and either our time or our money. Those are the only two important things really to a human being is time and money, right?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. From the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, from the mail in your mailbox to the mail in your email box to the phone calls that are generated by AI to try to solicit you, you are constantly being trying. They're trying to remove you from your money, right? Which is in essence energy, right?
Mm.
Because you have to go and work and expend your energy to get that cash. So really we're in a system that just extracts energy, right? That's all we are. We're just energy. And from the time that we are born and we get that social security number, which guarantees the government on each birth that you're going to produce $1 million in your lifetime. And so they hedge the birth. That's why the birth rates are so important, right? When they go down and they don't, you know what I mean? Things aren't whatever. They can't hedge that bet if they don't have the numbers, right? And some people they might go, "Oh, yeah, you're talking about that sovereign citizen stuff and blah 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 blah," blah," right? Well, I mean, it's true. And so from the day
Think
that we're
about
born, we're just energy. That's it. We're
now.
energy.
Take what you just said. Take what you just said, Sean, and apply that to Roe versus Wade, right? Apply this to Roe versus Wade and these arguments that the Supreme Court justices come down and okay, well, it's time to let's look at Roe versus Wade now and let's overturn it, or because it goes into what you just said, controlling the population. And they make it appear like, and they make it seem like it's us, that we have the choice and that we have the power. And we have none of that. We are being controlled and manipulated constantly as human beings. And we're constantly having these distractions thrown in our face so that you and I cannot come to these conclusions. So when they're sitting here talking about Roe versus Wade, and you have all these women out there in the streets, you have all of these people out there emotional, these discussions, it all creates division. And it doesn't mean anything. It don't mean friggin' shit, because it just comes down to personal choice, personal self, personal responsibility.
No, I agree. And you can actually, look at it this way. So you and I could be getting into a conversation and we agree 100% about one thing over here, but as we go through the conversation, we realize that we don't see eye to eye on something else. And that something else could be big enough for you to just say, okay, well, you know what? Yeah, we agreed over here, but fuck this dude because he doesn't think the way that I do on this one, or I don't like his take on that particular subject. So even though we did see eye to eye over here, we don't have the ability to see past these things, right? It's so crazy that folks just don't have the ability to, and I think most people do. Like when you go to work, right? You don't agree with everybody at work on a lot of things, but you still get along because you have to, because the common goal is whatever it is that you're trying to do at work, and not the other stuff. So we can do it to a certain degree, but then once we get out of these places where we have to be like um, civil, right? You can't do that kind of shit at work because you need money, you need to support yourself and your family. And if you're anybody like me, you've probably put your foot in your mouth a couple times before and learned the lesson that hey, I should probably shut up if I want to keep my keep making money,
Right.
and leave my opinions at home.
If
And
making
so
money, if making money is your goal in life, yes.
yeah. Well, I mean, you have to have it, to a certain degree to get along in life and to be able to pay for some things. But I mean, it's not 100% necessary to make a shitload of money to survive. All right, so we're getting off on a little bit of a tangent here. So this next clip that I'm going to play for you guys is going to go into the derailments, right? So we've been having these issues of train derailments since, we've been having them according to Mayor Pete Buttigieg,
Yeah,
all right?
that guy.
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg, because I don't know how to say his last name.
Something like that.
Yeah, he's our transportation secretary, and he came out and said, and mind you, it took him like a week and a half, I think. Trump went to Palestine, Ohio, before our own president and
East
the
Palestine.
secretary, East Palestine, and the secretary of transportation. But when he got there and he started making his his appearance and basically for publicity, he said that somebody asked him a question about that and the severity of it, and he deflected to, oh well, we have thousands of these a year. That's not very that's not very comforting to know that we have thousands of derailments every year. Okay, that there's a problem there, don't you think? Don't you think that that's an issue, considering all of the toxic shit that they carry on these trains?
I
From
think there was
fuel to
another one last night.
Yeah, and so there's probably tons of them, man. And so there's a video for about 6 derailments that she's going to talk about that have happened since 2023. All right, so we'll go there and then we'll give some perspectives on that.
Where we've had 6 states with train wrecks recorded already into 2023. The first 2 were in South Carolina on January 9th and the 21st. Neither of them contained any leakages. There's no injuries or deaths. Then, in February 1st, in Detroit, Michigan, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, there was 2 other train wrecks. There is no recorded of any injuries or deaths. You'll have to excuse me, I don't know the exact date of when this happened, but in California, there's 2 train derailments. One cargo contained grain, and the other there is no details about. And the one we're all familiar with, on February 3rd, Ohio. There are animals getting sick and dying from the hazard gas released from the incident within a 10-mile radius. There are also journalists and news reporters getting arrested from trying to document the raw material of what is really going on there. And finally, South Carolina, with no details released out yet, in Houston, Texas, with 100 gallons of diesel fuel released, and home chemicals with 1 death.
So I had no idea that we had that many derailments, like ongoing all the time.
Well,
Now,
I'm saying, and it just, again, that's my point, right? That's the point, Sean, that all of us need to face right there. Is you just said a mouthful. That's why I wanted you to stop right there, and you had no idea. You hear Trump saying there's thousands of them. I've never seen a derailment. You've never seen a derailment. This is my point, people, right? Go with what you have physically seen with your own eyeballs and processed, and take everything else with a grain of salt.
yeah. I haven't in my area seen that. I haven't heard about that. And I'm pretty close. My ear is pretty close to the ground on alternative media, independent media, because that's all I do. I don't watch mainstream. I, stick to investigative journalists that I trust, people that give you information, but they also give you where they got that information. They show you, the documents, and, let you, check the links and go and verify for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Don't take anybody's word for shit. Don't even take our word for anything. You know what I mean? And go and take some of the information. And if it piques your interest, go and try to research some more, because that's what they bet on. They bet on our laziness, right? Because inherently people are fucking lazy. Some people aren't. There's those folks that are, what do they call them, outliers, that go the extra mile, like the Jocko Willicks, the Joe Rogans, you know what I mean? But I'm sure that they suffer from laziness too. And the Germans or the Nazis, they did a whole lot of testing on humans back in the day. Some of it good, some of it would be considered torture, but they figured out how to move a person, how to do all of these things psychologically, how to, mind control, all that stuff. They figured all that shit out about how to manipulate the human psyche, right? And that's what they do. And all the games that they play and everything else is just, more of that. All right, we got Full Spectrum Universe over here. Rob Yox, what's up, brother? Good to have you. He said, yeah, there are over 1,000 a year, and he agrees with what we're saying too, man. Hey, good to have you, Rob. Been a long time, brother. That's one of my homies from over on Clubhouse. And so if you guys aren't familiar with Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces now, man, there's a lot of fire conversations going on over there, man. Especially on Twitter. You're not getting censored like you used to over there.
Yeah, I want to get I have almost 700 followers on Twitter, and I've heard that, and I want to get, maybe we can do something on Spaces as well and start getting our Spaces to grow.
Yeah, I would do that. I would definitely consider that, and maybe even instead of using the Clubhouse, and I do have somebody over in Clubhouse. My homeboy Electric Jiggy is over there, and so sorry about that. We got a bunch of platforms that I'm juggling right now. So when I see somebody over there, I don't want you to leave because I'm not, interacting with you. But this is mostly just a video, audio over on Clubhouse. If you want to join the conversation and get in to the comment section, definitely go to SeanDustin.com, hit my YouTube, and then you'll see us over there on YouTube Live, and you can join in the conversation with commenting and stuff.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Good Saturday morning, man. We're just having some coffee and we're just kicking the bobo, just talking about some things going on, man, from one American citizen in California to another American citizen here in Florida. And just really I think both of our agendas is really to just kind of pacify the people a little bit, you know. I just did a show the other day. I'm now starting to drop with Miss Penny Pierce. Penny Pierce is a world clairvoyant, a personal vibrationist, a guru, a self-management guru. And her and I talk about a lot of these things because the world is in fear, man. We're technically talking about going into World War III. You know, now we're talking about sending soldiers into Taiwan, which we haven't had soldiers there in 70 years, and now we're sending 5,000 Marines there. So we have an administration that kind of like what we see out of our police force. We have an administration that is not about de-escalation. They're about escalation. And as us as human beings, we're sitting here watching all of this unfold, and we're seeing how World War III is being pushed. It starts to make us question, well, what about World War II and World War I? Right? Were all these stories about how Adolf Hitler was allowed to come into power and he was ushered into the position that he was into so that he would become who he was? All of this stuff really starts to make sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and you also too, you have to go and take the 50,000 foot view of everything, because when you're right in the middle of it, it's hard to see these patterns, right? It's hard to see, because they do things so slowly that, and if you know what lockstep is basically what they did during the big P, right? Is, they move everybody moves one step forward, just like you see police do, right? When they have that line, when they're doing their with their shields and they're trying to move the crowd,
Right.
it's called lockstep. And so each one of them moves forward and they gain a little bit of ground, and you don't realize that you're being pushed off until you get to the edge and like, oh shit, they literally moved us, like from point A to point B, and without us really even paying attention to it. And so they're doing that with everything. And all of these things that they do, and when I say they, I mean the elites, the government, you know what I mean? Governments are nothing more than pieces for the billionaires to move around, to play their agendas out through chess pieces. And the governments and the politicians, those are the chess pieces, and they just sort of move them around with money and lobbying and all these other things, because they own the corporations. I mean, Jesus Christ, BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard, all of those folks own all of the things that we buy. They're all tied into these investment houses, and it's just crazy, the labyrinth of just tangled webs of it's a capitalism that just control everything. It's just when you it's really hard, and I get how some folks, they just get like so frustrated, because when you really start thinking about this and you get deep into your thought process of like how big this is, it's like, holy shit, it's overwhelming. And it makes, sometimes I just go, shit, I just push it away. I don't want to deal with this today. You know what I mean? And thinking about how huge it is. All
Well,
right, so
that's why it don't matter. That's
Yeah.
why it don't matter. As us as human beings, you, me, all of us, it does not matter. Just be your best self. Go out and live your life the way that you want to live it. If you want to have a cigarette, have a cigarette. If you want to have a drink, have a drink. Listen, if you want to do drugs, right? I'm not a person to tell another human being what to do or not to do with their life. All I do is just try to get human beings to understand, do it in moderation. Don't let any one thing control you. You be in control of every one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, I would agree with that. All right. So we moved off the derailments. We see what happened. They're lying about a lot of stuff that's happening. I mean, it even took them like how long did it take them to even start reporting? Because I knew about this through, some of the sources that I watch. I knew about this like 4 days before it even started coming out about on the legacy media. 4 or 5 days. So I mean, just that alone is enough, should be enough to piss off every American because all that shit went up into the atmosphere. And depending on where that goes, and what they didn't tell you about the vinyl chloride is that when it hits a certain degree, right, it starts boiling. So when it hits the atmosphere, it's already boiling. So when it was spewing out, it was boiling hot, right? And so when they put water on it, or when it catches on fire, it changes. It changes its chemical composition, and it now attaches itself to moisture, right? And so if it's attaching itself to all this moisture in the air, where does that moisture usually go?
Hmm. Well,
It's
this is why I
rain.
say, well, what goes up must come down.
And so they're hiding the fact that, some of the rain in West Virginia, and you look at the cars, and it's having an effect on the paint on the cars. So I mean, they literally made a decision to cause acid rain. Now we don't know how far that rain is going to go, that cloud, and any of that other stuff. And anytime they try to tell you, oh, it's only going to go this radius or that radius and da 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 da, these motherfuckers don't know shit.
No.
All they're doing is just telling you something, and they're hoping that you believe it, because if it's on the mainstream media, 60 to 70% of Americans believe what they see on the goddamn TV. And that's it. That's all they need to do. That is their secret weapon, the media sources.
These people don't know shit.
Always, yeah, and then that's why we have these shows. Like what we're doing is to try to inform you guys that, look, man, there's more to this that meets the eye. Open your fucking laptop, open a book, open something. Go get educated on history and how some of these things came to be. All right, let's move on. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is processing plants catching on fire. Food processing plants. All right. I was following a gentleman by the name of Ice Age Farmer on YouTube a while back. He hasn't posted anything in a while, which is interesting because he was like on a roll, and he was talking about all of the fires and stuff that were happening about 2 years ago. So I mean, ever since the thing happened 3 years ago, around 2021, the ramping up of processing plants of all kind, even food. We had one in Ohio, Bedford, Ohio, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Was a metal processing plant that went up in flames. So it's more chemicals into the atmosphere from the same place. So what do they want that's in Ohio? Like, what is Ohio sitting on that they want to clear out? And this goes into as soon as I'm going to explain this part real quick, and then we'll move into the processing plants. But this goes into, so the WHA, right, the World Health Assembly, right now is, and this has been going on for a few months, where we'll be giving up our sovereignty to the World Health Organization in a case of any kind of a pandemic, whether it's a pandemic of toxic places to live, right? And if they declare this area, so let's just say, the vote's in about a week. And so if Biden signs to allow the WHA or the WHO to take over in a type of pandemic situation, and that could be a pandemic of anything, right? That there's no delineating between a viral pandemic and like a pandemic of toxic areas, right? None of it matters. It just the wording, it leaves it really open and broad, so they can just say they could do it for anything, right? Oh, the cartels are killing people. Oh, there's a pandemic of murder. you know, in Sinaloa, we need to go there to clear the shit out. And so what I really think that they're setting up, and this is in Ohio, is if they determine the area where somebody lives, let's just say they go, let's just use East Palestine. If they declare that place an emergency zone that's too toxic for people to occupy, right? They will then have the authority to move your ass out of that city and into somewhere else. That's what they're doing right now. They're laying the foundation for that. They've been doing it for the last year. And so that's pretty scary, right? That some place not the United States, right? The World Health Organization. And if you know anything about the last 3 years, you know who the World Health Organization is and who they're funded by. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They're funded by the George Soros Open Society Foundation. Now, George Soros doesn't have a lot of good things associated with his name, and neither does Bill and Melinda Gates, right? More so, Bill, don't know much about Melinda, but she was married to the dude, so she must be quite a piece of shit too, in my opinion, because you know a whole lot about that guy and you ain't fucking telling. So, all right, I'm doing a lot of talking here.
Well,
Let's.
it's I mean, when we're talking about the food processing and stuff like that, I just saw again a TikTok where there is some engineering companies, right? And I think it's here based in the US that are studying how to turn plastic, right? Plastic into proteins that can be digested as food. They're trying to take plastic now and turn it into consumable food, and they're actually trying to get a patent for this now. So we have these companies. I'm sitting here looking at like this. There's this company called Zeppelin, ZeppelinSystems.com, right? And these are processing companies who are engineering food, things of that nature. They also have plants in tire and rubber industry. So it's like, what are we doing? This here, for example, our range is impressive. Fresh baked goods, cereals, extended shelf life baked goods, pasta products, spices, instant beverages, dairy products, and baby food. At the end of the day, you nor I know what is going into our food, what these people are engineering, what they're processing, and what we're consuming. We have no clue. These people tell us anything that they want. And they have trained us, Sean. They have trained us to believe everything that they say because they have a white coat on or a blue uniform or a green uniform.
Optics.
We question these people inexplicably. This is like I tell somebody, if I was to come up to you right now in these clothes and say, hey, get up against this wall and let me search you. What do you got on you? And I start patting you down. What are you going to do? Right?
I'm gonna elbow you in the chin.
Now, let me
Get
put
off
on a
me.
cop uniform. Let me put on a cop uniform, a badge, and a gun, and I come and I tell you this. What do? You're not going to
Well, you
elbow
just
me.
automatically- Nope. That's an extra charge. I don't want to do that. Let me just hear you out real quick.
You're going to do what
legit.
what I tell you to do. We as human beings have been trained to listen to these people inexplicably. So when they come on and they tell us, listen, you can trust us. Honestly, we take plastic. It's a miracle. We've taken your 2-liter bottle of Coke and turned it into a hamburger that can give you protein and build your body.
Nope. I don't believe it. And I've been doing a lot of research into hemp and cannabis lately because I make my own products. I grow my own shit, and you know, and some of the hemp, some of the uses that hemp can do is just amazing. right? You can replace a lot of the petroleum-based products with hemp. You know what I mean? And for the folks out there who think that fossil fuels are going anywhere, that solar and green energy and all this other stuff is going to take over something. I work in these industries, man. It's not happening. Because no matter what, they may retool and go over to biodiesel for some of them, but at the end of the day, asphalt is made from crude. All right. How are you going to not like what are you going to use in the place of asphalt if you're not refining oil?
That's
Now,
ridiculous.
there's certain things like you can use hemp for, making your, adding it to some things like cement or to maybe to asphalt or something like that. They would have to start doing cement based uh roads now if they move away from that. And then all of the petroleum based products that go into pharmaceuticals, they use a bunch of it. I mean, that's really what Rockefeller, made all this stuff up for, because he needed something to do with his byproducts from what the petroleum was producing. He had all this stuff that he had no idea what to do with, and so they started, tinkering around with shit and figuring out things to put it in, like the V's, right? The pokes. Those things have a product in it called PEG, which a lot of people, well, not a lot, but some people have an allergic reaction to. And that PEG is made by a petroleum-based product. You know what I mean? So I mean, you have all these things that are inlaid in it, and it's never going to change. And you might get a little bit away from it, but you need lubricants, right? And not the personal ones. You need lubricants, for joint
Well, it's
bearings and all that other stuff.
well, that's
It's
it.
all made by that.
Think of how much oil goes into petroleum goes into producing your electric vehicle. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Think about
yeah.
all of the plastic all around the car, all the plastic around all the wires in the car. You know what I mean? Everything in the interior of your car, everything, every aspect about that car is made from petroleum other than the electric part.
Yeah. It's so crazy. And then you get into like, what it takes to make those batteries. Holy shit. I don't even think we have enough of that stuff that lithium.
Yeah,
I
lithium.
know there's plenty of it, but they don't have enough of it unearthed to put everybody in an electric vehicle, man. You guys just got to realize that everything is a Ponzi scheme. Almost everything is a Ponzi scheme or a grift. We are being led by shapeshifters and grifters. So let's get to this other clip.
But
All right, so
that goes back to what we at the top of our conversation. We are being marketed to from the moment our eyes wake up to the moment we go to sleep. We're being manipulated and marketed to, But where are we going next?
all right, we're going to go into a Tucker Carlson clip on his reporting on some of these food
Tucker Carlson.
processing plant fires. Oh, Tucker.
Isn't he Fox?
Yeah, he's Fox, but he's way outside of the narrative, in my opinion.
Well, Fox is
but
owned by the Murdoch family, so you have to kind of look into who the Murdoch family is. Then you'll stop watching Fox.
there you go. There's a good perspective right there. So yeah.
Just before we went to air tonight, a plane apparently crashed at a General Mills plant, a food plant in Covington, Georgia. 6 tractor trailers are reportedly on fire. You're seeing pictures from the scene right now. This is the second time in a week that something like this has happened. On April 14th, the plane crashed into the Gem State Processing in East Idaho. What's going on here? Well, the story gets weirder. Food processing plants all over the country seem to be catching fire. A couple of days ago, a fire destroyed the headquarters of Azure Standard, one of the largest organic food distributors in the country. At the end of last month, a fire severely damaged a fresh onion packing facility in South Texas. In Oregon, a potato chip processing plant just reported a boiler explosion that sent workers to the hospital. Here's a news report on that.
Eastern Oregon, where crews are battling a major fire at a potato chip processing plant. Air 12 flew over the scene at Shearer's Foods on Highway 207 in Hermiston. We're told the fire was caused by an explosion of a portable boiler there. 2 people were taken to the hospital.
So industrial accidents happen, of course, but this is a lot of industrial accidents at food processing facilities at the same time the president's warning us about food shortages. They're getting hit by planes and catching fire. What is going on here exactly? Jason Rance hosts a radio show in Seattle and joins us to put it into perspective. Jason, good to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, obviously, when something happens every so often, you obviously hope that there's no significant damage and certainly no one gets hurt, but you kind of write it off. It's not that big of a deal. Accidents happen. But when you've got well over a dozen food processing plants and warehouses getting destroyed or seriously damaged over just the last few weeks, at a time when the food supply is already vulnerable, it's obviously suspicious. And it could lead to serious food shortages. That's why some folks are now wondering, well, number one, what's going on? And you've got some people speculating that this might be an intentional way to disrupt the food supply.
Wait, may I ask you to pause there really quick? Can I just ask you, I just want to nail this down so our viewers understand. There have been confirmed over a dozen disabling accidents at food plants in the last month, over a dozen.
Absolutely. And we're talking about some really significant plants. The Taylor Farms facility in Salinas, California was completely destroyed by a fire last week. We've had two major potato processing plants in Belfast, Maine and Warden, Washington that were completely gutted, which is happening at a time where we already have a potato shortage globally. You were talking about the onion supply at that Rio Fresh, but it's not just produce plants. Last month, there was a fire that took out a Nestle food plant out in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and that's impacting frozen food brands like Hot Pockets or Stouffer's, which maybe you might buy if you can't get fresh food from a warehouse that just exploded. And that Shearer's food facility you just mentioned in the open, I mean, that's the only West Coast facility that they operate. So there is some significant.
So, not to say that snack food is a bad thing to not have on the shelves, because that's all the shitty food and the stuff that they feed to the folks that can't really afford to get the fresh fruit on the outside of the aisles. But that just goes to show you, whenever they do something, they intend to impact the folks that are the most vulnerable in our state, in our society, right? Because who buys all that snack food? Who buys potato chips usually? Who buys the Hot Pockets? Who buys, it's folks that can't afford fresh food.
Right, of course.
And those are the poor, usually black and brown folks. There are white folks. I mean, there's poor in every shade of skin, right?
Well, the poor is the poor is always marketed to. They market to the poor because the rich have the money. You're not marketing to the rich. You're marketing to the poor. Right? You see all these clothing lines. They market it to the poor community, the hip hop community, the ethnic community, because they know that when we get $200, $180 of that is going to buy a pair of Jordans. They know that's how we spend our money. You know what I mean? And they market us to do that. So we continue to keep making these rich people richer.
Yeah. And those think tanks that they have, you hear about them. I know that most of the presidents have a think tank. I know that Pence has a think tank. What they're doing in these think tanks, they're using our money, our tax dollars, right, to fund these think tanks to figure out how to fuck us even further. So we're paying for our own fucking, basically. You know what I mean? Our own shellacking. We're doling out the cash for these fucking monsters to figure out how to enslave us even further and to keep that boot on the neck, basically. All right, so this next clip we got is kind of going to further get into the processing and food processing and the shortages, because I believe that these shortages are manufactured. I don't think that they're real at all, because we are the bread basket. If you look at the United States, we are the bread basket for most of the world, right? At least a third of the world is being supplied by us for fresh food.
Well, if there's food shortages, they're definitely creating it. It's not because we're not producing the food. There's no question.
Yeah, I live in an agricultural area, and last year, no problems at all getting vegetables from the farm stand. You know what I mean? No problem at all growing your own shit, which I started doing too. If you're not growing your own food, start growing your own food. That's one of the most important ways to get them to not be coerced by them. Because if they don't control how you eat, you don't really need them for much else.
But how good is the soil if they're poisoning it?
Well, you have to go and get your own soil. You know, it's not going to be one of these things where, you know, you're going to have to do some research, and growing your own food is just not as easy as, all right, throwing some fucking, you know, Johnny apple seeds, doing the dance, and then moving on. And next thing you know, you got an apple tree. It doesn't
Not
work
like that anymore.
You got to do a little bit of work, but I mean, it is possible. It is possible for you to do that. And I have been doing it, and I plan on doing it even further this year. So,
And it's expensive,
and then
too.
preserving your own food, right? You know what I'm saying? You got to learn how to preserve your shit, because
This takes money.
and
We can't do this in the
Yep.
poor community, Sean. We can't do
Well, then
this.
you have to partner. You have to partner with people. Like, I have a nonprofit that I would love to, you know, start getting somebody, you know, returning citizens home on a piece of land, and instead of paroling to a halfway house, you parole to my farm,
Mm.
and you learn how to work the field. You learn how to work and work the land, and become self-sufficient. Do you know how much confidence is created through being able to sustain yourself?
There's
It's
no
amazing.
question.
Oh, it's amazing, man. And I think that the confidence that most of the young men today have is all false. It's all bullshit, because they don't know how to take care of themselves. If you took all the stores away and you took all the ability, you know what I mean? Like, how are you going to survive now? Most of them couldn't do it.
No.
And they have that false sense of security, that false sense of self-esteem. They don't know what it's like. I don't even think most folks even realize what real.
Well, we see exactly what you're talking about in our athletes, right? For instance, on TikTok, a guy that I'm trying to get on, his name is Cliff. I can't remember his last name, but Cliff was a baseball player who put his whole career, his whole life into baseball. And when he got his arm injured, he had no idea on how to survive. He had no idea on how to survive. So what did he do? He started, he brainstormed this idea that he can provide false signatures on memorabilia and sell it that way as authentic.
Oh, dirty dude.
And he ended up he went to federal prison over it. He was in the news. He did 6 years in prison over it. And they made a big deal about, you know, him being the biggest sports memorabilia fraud guy in history and all this stuff. But that goes into what you're saying, is that America provides this false bravado, this false ego, and makes us believe that we have to, in order to be important, we have to be impressionable in some fashion, whether it's our clothes, our job, our title, our athletic ability, that is where we get our confidence from. You know, it teaches us that our confidence comes from other people's perceptions and not from within. And that is why we're in the chaotic state that we're in.
Yeah, that's one to think about, huh? Yeah, good ad. I was gonna say good, like, you know what I'm saying? When you play basketball at all when you were younger?
I played all sports. Nothing how do you say, like under the whistle. Nothing like in leagues or anything like that. Just out playing.
I feel sometimes like co-hosting is a lot like playing basketball. You know what I mean? When you go to do the pass or an assist, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Throw it
somebody
down.
throws up. Yeah. There you go. All right. So this next clip that I'm going to play is tied in with the food processing stuff as well. This guy makes some Marxist statements, and I think he may be Marxist in some sort of a way, but don't let that sway you. The actual message and what he's talking about makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Is manufactured. America's Midwest has the agricultural capacity to feed the entire Western Hemisphere. This is so freaking true. Take it from the Midwestern Marxists. Not only has a lot of the Midwest been deindustrialized and we've seen our manufacturing jobs outsourced, but also more and more farmland is being bought up by big corporations who push small family farmers out of the market. Bill Gates has bought over 2,500 acres of farmland in 19 states, while at the same time, small American farmers are facing record-setting debt to the the point where they're now nearing extinction. Now imagine we invested in developing a bunch of cooperative farms in the Midwest, and then invested in building high-speed rail between the Midwest and all the major cities, the major sectors of economic power, and also the places we need to get food to. Does that not seem like a more rational system than allowing corporations to choke out small farmers as people die of starvation? Of course the cooperative system of ag would be more rational, because socialism's more rational than capitalism.
So, I mean, he has a point.
Mm-hmm.
He has a point, and I think that that's a great idea. I mean, we've outsourced everything, you know what I mean? And, you know, trying to bring everything back, I mean, that's not going to be an easy feat. You know what I mean? It's going to take time, retooling, building things. And I don't know, man. When you look at all of the factors and you look at all of the things that are happening right now, I mean, one just can't help but to wonder, like, is this all just a planned demolition? And if it is, why? What for? What are they going to gain from that? Is it to bring China into the new superpower because we've now are no longer consumers as the middle class is shrinking in the United States, which is by design. They're doing that on purpose. So every time they have one of these things like they did, you know, first one, the one I can remember was like 2008, right? The Great Recession, right? Anytime we have something like that, and then we had another sort of recession that was manufactured in you know the thing that happened 3 years ago, and I see those as just the tree of class, right? Because we're in a class system. Let's just not lie about it, right? It doesn't have anything to do with racism or anything else. It's classism, right? We live in a class tiered society. The middle class is what really makes things happen, because we are the ones that drive the whole system by, you know, we make the money, we spend the money, we, you know, usually don't know a whole lot about money. And so the choices that we make when we're spending our money are usually not very responsible, right? We get ourselves into debt. We don't know much about compound interest. We're usually on the wrong side of compound interest, right? If you have payments and you get a raise, what do Americans usually do when you get, you know, a raise in income? Well, you upgrade your life, you upgrade something, you know what I mean? You add another payment into your portfolio, which is not owning anything. You own debt. You don't own shit.
That's
Right. I own a whole bunch of bills.
Yeah. You get a raise, you get another bill, and so you really didn't even get a raise.
No, you didn't. So yeah, we got to stop living that way. We got to start educating ourselves on how to become more self-sufficient and stop depending on these centralized systems, which all they do is enslave us. All right, so this next clip that I'm gonna play is kind of annoying, the background noise, but it goes into the whole chicken thing, right? So we all know that the price of eggs has gone up. There's been an egg shortage, right? They've killed a whole bunch of chickens because of some fucking bird flu, which who even knows if that's true, right? But one of the interesting things about what chickens produce are the eggs. The eggs, right? That's the most important thing that chicken produces. And I'm going to read to you something from
Although that chicken would probably disagree with that statement.
Yeah, I bet, you know, a lot of chickens, you know, think they're more important than they actually are, you know. But you know, so this is a study that was done on chicken egg yolk and how important chicken egg yolk is and what it does. Just don't mind the annoying background noise. All right, so this says the SARS-CoV-2 virus is still spreading worldwide, and there is an urgent need to effectively. Oh no, I don't want to go that far. Hold on. Let's restart this. That didn't happen right. So I'm gonna remove that.
The chicks.
It's an annoying chicks, dude. Annoying chicks.
All right, so by story of my life.
Oh no. Stop it. All right, so we're gonna try this one more time. I'm gonna pause that. Pause, sucker. All right, now I'm gonna go full screen so I can read this. Thank you. Tech problems. I swear to God, I'm a professional. I really do. Right. All right. So this is about the chicken egg yolk antibodies, IgYS. All right. So the SARS-CoV-2, this is the abstract from this study. The SARS-CoV-2 virus is still spreading worldwide, and there is an urgent need to effectively prevent and control this pandemic. This study evaluated the potential efficacy of egg yolk antibodies, IgYs, as a neutralizing agent against SARS-CoV-2. We investigated the neutralizing effect of anti-spike S1 IgYs on the SARS-CoV-2 pseudovirus, as well as its inhibitory effect on the binding of the coronavirus spike protein mutants to human ACE2, the ACE2 receptor. So the spike attaches itself to the ACE2. That's how people are getting sick.
Right.
Our results show that the anti-spike S1 IgYs showed significant neutralizing potency against SARS-CoV-2. Our results show that the anti-spike S1 IgYs showed significant neutralizing potency against SARS-CoV-2, pseudovirus, various spike protein mutants, and even SARS-CoV in vitro. It might be a feasible tool for the prevention and control of ongoing COVID-19. Do you understand what that just meant?
Mm-hmm.
It means that egg yolk contains proteins that attach themselves to the ACE2 receptor, kind of like nicotine was doing as well. It was attaching itself to the ACE2, which was making the spike just like bounce off, and it couldn't attach to the ACE2. So that means that it helps you to fight getting sick from the COVID-19 deal. And what I do have to say too is that, I am a huge proponent, and I have to say this so we don't get in trouble on YouTube, but the vaccine is very safe and effective, and you should take it. That's my you have to say that if you don't get zapped on YouTube. You have to play along with their narrative and say that you agree with, aside from this information, I still think that, it's safe and effective and that you should take it, even though I don't really believe that, but I have to say that.
Not on my
So,
channel.
yeah.
Not on my channel. YouTube can cancel me.
Yeah. Well, I'm already on my third, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to get or my second. I don't want to get
But
a
that's
third.
why I kind of just leave it alone anymore. You know what I mean? Is for that purpose. Hopefully,
you're also, but if you leave it alone, you're just playing into what their censorship, the self-censoring.
well, I'm hoping with these Twitter files now that's going on in Congress, that a lot of these social media types, specifically Google, because YouTube is owned by Google and all that, they will they'll back off some. You see Facebook let Trump back in, gave Trump back his profile. So I think nobody wants to stand in front of Congress and the public answering these questions, but it goes back into all these other conversations that we're having. Like, is any of this real?
What's true?
Is any of it real?
Or is it all just theater?
Just
right?
theater. The world is a stage.
Is it all just theater? Is it all just, and I've thought about this before, is the national scene just a soap opera? And the pundits and the people like Tucker Carlson and who's that other broad that was spreading misinformation, the chick that's really popular, that has the short hair,
A whole bunch of them.
shit, I can't remember what her name is. She was for Fox, and she moved on to somewhere else, but she's another one. Rachel Maddow.
Yep,
She's
Rachel
another one of these
Maddow.
pundits, right?
Yep.
All they are is reporting on this week's episode.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're just
So
reporting on
let's look this guy
week's
up.
episode
What's his name?
of the drama.
Tucker Carlson. Let's look up Tucker. Who is Tucker Carlson? Right.
All right. So while you're finding that, I'm going to get to who owns all of the food supply, right? And it's a name that I haven't heard before. And so let's check this out. This guy's actually got a pretty good perspective on it.
The Cargill family.
Never heard of it.
It's United States' largest privately owned company. They are the mass producers of essential food products like sugar, wheat, and their largest customers is Walmart, McDonald's, Cisco. So they provide all the produce. They actually provide all the meat for the chicken nuggets and the hamburgers for McDonald's. Just a correlation. And correlation isn't causation, but it's interesting that there is one, which is inflation is a derivative of cost and cost is a derivative of demand. Demand hasn't really changed, but prices have risen through the roof. And this is the largest produce provider in the United States or possibly the world. And Forbes have just announced how much money they have been making. And so it's just interesting that as the demand hasn't changed and our wages haven't changed, the cost of food has increased severely. And the only person that's profiting off of it is Cargill.
Boom. And that's not just with that. I mean, it's with everything. You know, these, and if you look at, there's a, I'm gonna get this link to a movie called Monopoly, and it was on Rumble, and the guy gives a very good rendition in about an hour of who really owns the world and who controls our, you know, society and who controls where the corporations, and you know, because it's not just these huge corporations and the investment houses that are all tied into them are all tied in together, and they go to where they just came from, the World Economic Forum, right, in Davos, and they talk about what they're doing, what they've planned, is it working, what do they need to tweak, what do they got to do. Like they are gaming out everything. And if you know anything about what happened in the event 201, right? The event 201 was the tabletop exercise that was an exact replica of what we just went through 3 years ago. So they gamed this whole thing out before they put it on to the public, right? And they did that in a couple of other instances too. 9/11 was one of them, where they had all the emergency services in place because they were doing some sort of a drill, right, in the city. Come on, man. I mean, there's so many coincidences that happen through all these events that just think about the coincidence that happened in your own life. How many coincidences can you remember in your own life where you go, oh my God, I can't believe that's so amazing, right? I can't believe it just played out like that. Well, those don't happen very often, but for the government and for our society, they seem to happen all the time. Just many coincidences.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, how convenient.
And we
You know
believe
what I
them.
mean? Yeah, we're just like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Do you know that what Sally, come over here. Did you just see what happened? It's so amazing. They just did this.
I had no idea what it was, but CNN said it was a weather balloon, but okay.
Oh my God, Carl, come here and help me be Karen. Oh, it's so crazy, man. And these people just fall for it, man.
So
They
this
just
this
blatantly
Tucker
fall for it.
Carlson guy, right? Okay. Now, Tucker Carlson, his college, his education stems from Trinity College. Trinity College is a private liberal arts college. This guy worked for CNN, MSNBC, PBS, and now he's Fox News. So this guy's been all over the spectrum, right? MSNBC is about as left as you can get. I have no sound from you.
Oh, I'm talking to the TikTok people.
Oh.
While you're going through that.
So, and I lost you on TikTok too. I have to get back on there. But so Tucker Carlson, yeah, he been in CNN, PBS, MSNBC. Now he's Fox News. His education is based in liberal arts. His education is based in being an actor. It's based in manipulation. It's based upon being in front of a camera. This man is not an educated man when it comes to what's going on in America. He's never been in a poor community. He's not from the poor community. He has no idea what's going on inside of our communities. His only job is to get ratings. That's it. So with that being said, with him to get ratings, he has to say some unprofound crap. You know what I mean? He has to be controversial. He has to do these things. He has to draw emotion out of people, because that's what we like here in America. We like to be emotional. We like to see violence and gore and people robbing each other. And we like to see bank robbers and all this stuff. But when our children go out and do it, we don't like that. We want to send them to prison for life now. It's crazy ass shit.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if I believe that. I do to a certain extent, but I mean, if that's true, if what you're saying is true, and this is, you know, just another part of controlled opposition, you know what I mean? Because that's a thing, that's a real thing, controlled opposition. You know what I mean? They don't they want you looking at a version of truth that they control,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not what the real truth is. And so Tucker could be. You know, there was one that he had, and he had Tulsi Gabbard on, or Tulsi Gabbard had him on her podcast. And Tulsi's another one, man, where I just don't know. I don't know, man. I like everything that she says, right? I don't think she's a Russian puppet like, you know, the Clintons tried to say she was. And, you know, and everything is always goes back to Russia and how bad Russia is, which I honestly don't understand why they're so bad.
Because they're
you know,
sovereign. That's why. They're sovereign, and they
well,
don't
yeah,
want
yeah,
any
yeah.
part to do with the NWO. They don't want anything to do with this global climate. They don't want anything to do with what anybody else is going on. That's why they're the enemy.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that too. But Tulsi has a lot of good stuff to say. But I did hear that she was a part of the World Economic Forum. I think the reason why I never researched that is because honestly, I don't want that to be true, because I like her. You know what I mean? I like what she has to say. And I think that, you know, if we were going to have any kind of a woman as a president, that she'd be an awesome fucking individual to have up there, because she embodies everything that you would want in a president, right? She's served, you know, she served in the military, you know, she's gone and done tours in Iraq. She was a medical person there. She's in the reserves. You know, she went and served our country like most politicians should. You know, she went from one part of serving our country into another part of serving our country, and did it the right way, right? She didn't want to be a career politician. She went and she served, and she did, and tried to figure out if she could make a difference, and she realized she couldn't. And so she said, fuck it, I'm done, and came back.
Let me ask you, how old are you now? You're the same age as me, right?
I'm 49.
Okay.
Hold on, I want hold that thought. I want to acknowledge Whiskey, who TJ Burns came over from the TikTok, and so I just want to acknowledge you. Thank you, brother, for coming from TikTok and checking out the live, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, God bless. Thank you. That's what it's about, really, to help us grow and get these messages out, is for people to like and subscribe and share our stuff as well, because it's a full-time job to try to get all this stuff out. But what was we saying?
Sorry, man. I knew that was going to happen. As soon as I interrupted you, you lose that thought. We were talking about Tulsi Gabbard and how she.
Okay, yeah, right. And I asked your age. So, out of all these presidents that we've had, Sean, how many have directly affected your life? Have they swayed your thought decision in any kind of way? Have they affected your thought process day in, day out? Have they done anything to direct your life in any kind of way?
Yes, yes. And so let me explain this real quick. So when Trump in 2016, he changed the tax code, right?
Mhm.
And he helped out all of his buddies, you know, but really I think he was helping out himself, but
Mhm.
all his buddies, you know, that were rich, all, you know, profited and were helped as well.
Mhm.
But what he did do is he changed it, and he took away all of the union's deductions, right? So if you're a union member, you have union dues, you have tools, you have all these things that you could have deducted, you know what I mean? Clothes, your work clothes, all this stuff that you could deduct on the federal side. You can still deduct it on the state side, but what ended up happening is it eliminated like $18,000 worth of deductions for me, right? And so, because our union dues are super, super high, I pay like $10,000 a year in my union. And so what that did was I didn't do any of the changes like they said that you were supposed to do. I just I didn't adjust any of my withholdings. I didn't do anything. I did everything the same that I did the year before. And the year before, I got $2,000 back. When I did my taxes that year after Trump changed that shit, I owed 10. And so that's a fucking chunk, man. 10 grand just to like, oh, there you go.
Mhm.
I ain't rich. Luckily I had done the only reason I was able to pay it, and part of this was probably why is that I'd win exempted at some point. I think that was in, but I don't know, man. 10 grand, I had it in the bank. No, the only reason I had it in the bank is that I'd gotten my grandparents had passed, and I got a small inheritance, and so I had to just cut it off of that because I wasn't going to put it on payments and pay interest.
Right.
And so I was lucky. I had the money. But if I didn't have the money, what would that have done to me? How much of a hole would that have put me in, right? And so that's how he affected me. But that's the only time. Other than that, never. Nothing that they do affects anything in my life.
And more specifically, our thought pattern. Like, we're not leaving our house thinking about, well, Biden's president today, so I'm gonna choose to do this, or Trump was president, or Obama was president. These people don't factor into us until something occurs that changes our personal life, right? Like for you. But again, how much of that was directed towards you? Like you say, you just happened to fall in line with this political scheme at this time. You know what I mean? And that is in the divisive nature as well, because it divided you from other individuals who didn't get to benefit from that, or maybe was even on the other side. So all of these movements that these people are creating to make us think that they really affect our lives, when it's a minuscule effect, right? Like if our lives were simple, we weren't into the big houses and the cars and having to keep up with all of keeping up with the Joneses or whatnot, how significant would that $10,000 really be? Really wouldn't even be that significant, because we wouldn't be spending that much money. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Our lives are so minuscule as to only what we need, that everything else in excess is kind of given to somebody else that may be less fortunate than us. But because we're constantly chasing the Joneses, like going back to what we said about the raise, when you get that raise, you bring in another bill because, you know what, I want to upgrade my BMW to a Jag now, to keep up with Roger next door, because Roger just got a Jag, and I see how his wife looks at him. I want my wife to look at me like that, This is the prison that we put ourselves in.
Ah, that's so true. Yeah, it's true, man. I see that in the in my trade, right? In the union, you see these guys, and we try to tell them. And I didn't do this, man. I mean, I the only reason I preach it now is because I realized that the mistake that I had made. And I put a link down here to the Rumble link. I tried to put it over in the comments to go over to YouTube, but it didn't make it over there. So, Whiskey Pro, this Rumble right here is Monopoly. It's a movie that shows you kind of like who owns the world, and how Vanguard and BlackRock are all tied into everything that we do.
I think BlackRock is the owner of Vanguard, but Vanguard.
No, BlackRock, the CEO of BlackRock is a gentleman who we know. Vanguard, there's no information. You can't find out who owns Vanguard. You can't find out who's invested in Vanguard. It's secret. You can't find any of this shit out, which is interesting.
I ran across, because I used to be in Vanguard. I used to go through Vanguard, and I ran across somewhere that.
But is it the same Vanguard? Because there's a lot of different Vanguards. There's
the trading company. Vanguard is an investment capital company. What we're talking about when we're talking about Vanguard and BlackRock and all these companies, for the people that don't understand who they are, because these aren't common names in the news. These are capitalists, venture capitalists. These are companies that buy up everything, right? They own everything and they take percentages of these businesses. So say me and Sean have a business, and for whatever reason we fall into the schematics of what a Vanguard or a BlackRock like. They'll come and they'll supply us, they'll fund us, they'll buy us out essentially, and let us continue doing what we do. And they are just a silent partner in the back that makes sure that we continue doing what we're doing by giving us the money to do so at a percentage clip going back to them, or board access, stock access, however it is. That's who BlackRock, Vanguard is. But yes, they own most of the world, pretty much. This gets into our centralized banking, ideologies, and them controlling, as I like to say, this slave ship. I'm coming more into the faction that this is the slave ship of the world. This is why we send the world our money and nobody sends us money. Nobody generates the money that Americans do. And this is why America puts work first. We put work first. We don't put family first like most other countries.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And also too, let's tap into something that you just said, right? And what you were talking about. You're talking about another way of controlling, right? And that's how we see China right now. If you go to look at China's population, and they have the social credit score and everything tied into a digital currency with a digital deal, we're working on that too. It's called the central CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies, and the whole FTX thing, the Sam Bankman-Fried thing, all of that. That was all like a controlled demolition to try to get everybody off of Bitcoin and the crypto, right? Because they want to show you that it was unsafe. Oh, look at how unsafe it is, and people can just rip people off and like he did. Well, that was part of the reason is a lot of that money, and I can play a video that explains that whole thing, the part that nobody tells you about, where the Democratic Party's involved and the regulation. So they wanted to show you that it was dangerous so they can turn around and come and regulate it. That's what they do to a lot of things, man. They just, if they want to regulate shit, they'll come and they'll find a way to destroy it or make it look like it's bad for everybody. That way they can get rid of it. Just the same thing with TikTok, right? They don't Facebook and all.
Take what you said and apply it to 9/11 and the Patriot Act.
Oh, everything. Yeah, dude. They create the problem so they can either bring you the solution or sell it to you.
And that goes, and that's simplistic. That is common extortion. We do that in prison, right? When you come into prison and you look green.
Oh, that's a good point.
When you come into prison and you look green, we'll send a couple homeboys at you to beat the shit out of you, scare you a little bit, and then I'm coming to you, hey man, listen, what's going on? You need somebody to look out for you, you need somebody to protect you. You put $200 on my books every day, and I'll make all these problems go away. And you'll never be bothered again. Just that simple.
Nothing new under the sun, man.
Do not reinvent the wheel. But going back to, so touch, before we move on from this, so Vanguard claims, the Vanguard group claims to be investment owned. So it claims that it is owned by its investors worldwide, and that it don't have a particular ownership, private or shareholder. Now, this is where we have to get into the nitty gritty. See, when we research, this is something also that's very important for Americans to understand is how to research, right? And what to look for, and to educate yourself, not just to look at the first thing, but you have to dig deep, right? Now, just scratching the surface, let's go and look at, knowing this and knowing that Vanguard says this, let's go and look at who their top investors are right out of the gate. Number one, their largest stake is BlackRock. BlackRock owns 4.77% of Vanguard. So when we get into these things, right, all of these legalities that is put into produced on paper, right, for these loopholes and all of this stuff, you have to we really have to get into understanding the stock exchange, understanding the stock market, understanding capitalism, what Sean was explaining earlier, really understanding how these mechanics work. And we, the people, most importantly, following on what Sean said earlier, is we have to start getting back into our communities, start spending money on your local nonprofits, local businesses, these small people in your communities who are trying to start businesses. We have to put money back into our communities and stop spending money with Amazon, Walmart, these big companies that do nothing for the community but enslave us. The last, Sean, no lie, this is no lie. People don't, I could show it right now. Matter of fact, I might. I've been Ubering for 2 weeks. I haven't gotten one tip in my Uber. Over 50 trips, not one tip from one Uber driver. And the thing of it is are these people not spending money? Of course not. I guarantee they have a slew of things ordered on Amazon. You won't tip your local person who's in your community, drivers, food delivery people, people that are working Instacart, DoorDash. You won't tip these people, your local restaurants. These people, 9 out of 10 aren't working because they like these types of jobs. They're doing this because they have to as another source of income to stop themselves from being homeless. And yet you aren't tipping these people. And you would rather go to Amazon and spend your money on Amazon because money is tight. Money is tight because of this circle, right? And what's going to happen when all these automated machines come in and take over these people's place? You think these people like being cash registers at Walmart? This was their career choice? They have to do this. And then when these automated machines come in and us greedy Americans are just flying through these self-checkouts, what happens to these people when they can no longer get a job as a cash register?
They slide into that UBI.
They get into homelessness. And then now we're stepping over this very person, telling them, go get a job. Get off drugs and go get a job, you bum.
Pull up your bootstraps, kid. Pull up your bootstraps and go be an American and go work. Well, you know, a lot of those folks are veterans, people that have served our country, and you know, our country has turned their back on them.
It's disgusting, man.
You know what I mean? And it's crazy. I'm gonna play that. I found that that FTX Sam Bankman-Fried deal.
Yeah.
So it's like about 7 minutes, maybe a little bit less.
So another guy should be drugged behind 4 horses 4 different ways.
TJ says, here's what I find funny about capitalism. People will take an Uber to Starbucks wearing Calvin Klein's and tweet about how capitalism is bad. That's a great point, man. Thank you for sharing that.
The hypocrisy of democracy.
Woo! There you go. Hypocrisy of democracy. Let's make a song about it. I'm sure plenty of people already have, though. All right, so let's hit this new clip here. We're gonna go. Oh, wait a second. That's not where I need to go. Come on, man. Get your text straight, brother. Get your text straight, man. All right, here we go.
This is going to be a quick one. I'm going to give you a rundown on the whole FTX crypto exchange financial drama, as well as cover the rather insidious and bigger story about FTX that mainstream media won't touch. Fair warning, this is such an annoying thing to explain because there's a lot of acronyms, but the recent FTX drama boils down to this. A crypto exchange took customers' money and invested it in unknown assets. And when customers went to pull their money out of the exchange, there was no money. Crypto exchange FTX and its founder Sam Bankman-Fried, or SBF, imploded this week. To put it in perspective, FTX and its competitor Binance are the two largest exchanges in the world. Just like with Binance, with FTX, the customer can put in dollars or tokens, and you can trade these tokens. The way these exchanges make money is by charging a transaction fee when you exchange tokens. The transaction fee token that FTX uses is called FTT. It's a utility token that provides access to the FTX trading platform's features and services. And listen, I know it's funny money, but just stick with me here. Sam implemented a backdoor in the FTX bookkeeping, which let him alter his company's financial records without alerting their external auditors. That means when he transferred $10 billion of customer money to his sister company, Alameda, which he also founded, it went undetected. So early in November, CoinDesk, which is like a crypto publication, ran a report on FTX, which is headquartered in the Bahamas, and showed that basically the company was belly up. FTX had minimal liquidity because its founder had invested its customers' money in a bunch of unknown assets. Most of Alameda's assets were tied up in FTT, the funny money, so neither of Sam's companies had any liquidity. They only had fake money. Turns out the CEO of Binance decided to liquidate roughly $530 million worth of FTT around this time, which signaled FTX's customers to pull out too, and when they all did this at once, FTX saw an estimated $6 billion in withdrawals over the course of 72 hours. Which of course it couldn't fulfill because I just told you they didn't have any actual money. And hey, this is a very simplified version of events, but I believe I gave you the main highlights so we can move on to the bigger story. Back in 2019, Biden announced his presidential campaign, and just 2 weeks later, MIT graduate, early life Wikipedia tribe member, Silicon Valley's Sam Bankman-Fried, who is actually the son of Barbara Fried, who's a Stanford professor who happens to be the co-founder of Mind the Gap, a Democratic political fundraising organization based in Silicon Valley. Sam's brother, Gabe, is founder of Guarding Against Pandemics, an organization that advocates for public investments to prevent the next pandemic. And Gabe was a legislative correspondent for the U.S. House of Representatives and an advisor to large political donors in the Democratic Party. But that's not all. Aunt Linda Fried is an epidemiologist and dean at Columbia. She specializes in aging, and her husband is an expert in HIV/AIDS. They both have strong links to the World Economic Forum. You can read about them on the WEF's website. Anyway, Sam launched the FTX exchange 2 weeks after Biden announced his run for presidency. And somehow, in his late 20s, Sam became one of Biden's biggest donors. He reportedly has become the second largest donor to the Democrats right after George Soros. FTX was an overnight success and made Sam very rich. At his peak, he was reportedly worth $26 billion. And he'd even gotten celebs like Tom Brady and Giselle to promote his crypto exchange. Investment firm Sequoia Capital invested $213 million in Sam's company, only for Sam to turn around and invest $500 million in Sequoia Capital. And not only that, but FTX purchased 30% of Anthony Scaramucci's Skybridge Capital. Once Biden was in office, he appointed Gary Gensler as the SEC chair. The daughter of Gary Gensler's boss at MIT, Caroline Ellison, is now the president of FTX's sister company. That's quite a web that's being woven when the SEC, or the Securities and Exchange Commission, is supposed to be protecting investors. In theory, they're supposed to be fair and not corrupt and impartial and all that. But I digress. FTX's head of ventures is Amy Wu, who used to work for the Clinton Foundation. And I'm undoubtedly going to butcher some of these names here, but it is what it is. FTX's policy and regulation head, Mark Wetchen, served as Obama's commodity futures trading commissioner. And there were reports that FTX wanted to spend over $1 billion on the Democrat Party for 2024. According to another report by CoinDesk, the Ukrainian government launched a crypto donations partnership with FTX in March of 2022. FTX was converting donations into fiat for deposit at the National Bank of Ukraine. Aid for Ukraine was the official initiative that raised funds from the crypto community for the benefit of Ukraine's military and humanitarian needs. Quote, the Aid for Ukraine effort utilized FTX services to convert crypto funds received into fiat and send the donations to the National Bank of Ukraine, ultimately becoming the 5th largest charitable foundation assisting in the country's war effort. End quote. Let's just get all our ducks in a row here. The foreign aid that the U.S. government sent Ukraine was then put into FTX. And I just told you that the way exchanges make money is by transactions, so FTX made a ton of money from the U.S. government sending our tax dollars to Ukraine, and Ukraine partnering with FTX, which Sam Bankman-Fried then turned around and donated to the Democratic Party. For the midterms alone, Sam gave Democrats $40 million from his now bankrupt crypto exchange. And it's pretty suspicious that the downfall of
Sounds like a
FTX
rope-a-dope
happened
to
right
me.
after midterms. To summarize and make sure we have this right, you, the taxpayer, give your hard-earned money to the American government. The American government turns around and gives it to Ukraine, and Ukraine runs your donations through FTX. And then the FTX founder takes your money and gives it to the Democrats. So do you think Democrats will give back this tainted money after this whole scandal? Totally a rhetorical question, but I think it should be demanded of them. It's only fair, you know? But in all seriousness, I think the Sam Bankman-Fried character was set up to fall. His whole rise was too manufactured, too quick, and now his bankrupt company sets up the perfect example for people to demand federal control of cryptocurrency and trading, for them to demand government regulation. They fried the bankmen. You get it? What do you think, internet friends? You know, I always look forward to your comments. Thank you so much for watching. And
They fried the bankman.
No, but I mean,
So
that right there, Sean. Let me listen, because that's personal for me, right? So I watched this live. I watched this unfold live. And what that means is I was in crypto at this time. I lost $6,000. The only $6,000 I had to my name, and why I'm in the hole now, right? So I wasn't in FTT or FTX because they were unknown to me. I was in Matic, Doge, Shiba, a couple of the other ones. Now, I sat here and there was an online trading forum. Tame the Ark is his name. I'll give him a shout out. And I was up watching pretty much 24/7. He would live stream for weeks, right? And he still does now. We watched live this money being traded through crypto wallets, right? And billions of dollars, millions of dollars, 30 million here, 40 million here being traded from Coinbase to another. We had no idea what was going on while this was unfolding. Then we watched as Binance was saying that they were going to go in and possibly purchase FTX. And when they went in and checked the books, they came out, I think the next day, and was like, no, we don't want any part to do with this, because they knew what it was. Now, what you just laid out in that, what that woman laid out is our slavery. That is how we are enslaved. We pay off the debt to the money laundering that the government does. And it's just not this here. It's not the crypto. It's in any way that they can money launder our tax money that we are slaving for 60 hours a week, missing time with our family, doing all the things that we are doing, thinking that we're chasing this American dream. They're taking our money and laundering it through these illegal businesses. I'm starting to believe that this whole crypto thing was formed exactly for these governments to launder their money. That's why it's unregulated. And they okay, that's my rant.
Well, throw in the NFTs in there. So
All of
what's
it,
an
everything.
what's an NFT? An NFT is a digital it's a digital piece of art that you have. Like if somebody makes an NFT of some sort of a art piece or of something, that mean I didn't understand the NFT thing, but I understand how you could what's it called, launder money through it, right?
Mhm.
because it's not regulated. I just bought this NFT, all right, I spent $2 million on an NFT, right? Well, there's no regulation on that. And what is it that you got? You got a digital copy of something, but you have the original. But yet I can go and I can screenshot that digital image and crop it and make it look like and put it on my phone. Now I have that image and I didn't have to. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I didn't understand anything about NFTs, and I was right in the beginning of that shit when it came out, when I was on Clubhouse, and we were talking a lot about NFTs at that time, and I still just couldn't understand them, man. It's just everything's a fucking Ponzi scheme, man.
Everything.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
Everything from the moment we open our eyes to the moment we close them, we are under attack for our energy, our work, right? This Sam Bankman-Fried, come on, man. Do you think that this kid was intelligent enough to pull off this type of scheme alone? This was all his idea? Come on, man. This kid, just like the lady said, if that's even his real name, we know that the CIA can change your name and alter your name to anything that it wants to be. And they do these things to slap us in the face. It's in our face. Sam Bankman-Fried, Fried Bankman. Now, Tom Brady and Giselle, I talk about my little $6,000. These people lost damn near a quarter of their fortune into this. And there's a whole slew of them. Shaq, a whole slew of athletes, because that's what he was doing, was going around and marketing athletes for the what? The likability, to get us to trust him. We see Tom Brady, we see Shaq. Oh, they're into it. Let me throw all my money into it. These are great guys.
The know, like, and trust factor. You got to build that factor in order to separate people from their wallets. Otherwise, you're not going to buy it, right? And so if you put recognizable faces that are good people, like Tom Brady, geez, that guy's won how many Super Bowls? He's the epitome of the American dream, right? A guy that and his wife Giselle, she's a supermodel, right? Like, how many people trust that, right? You're like, God, I wish I was that guy. Have a supermodel. Look how beautiful his wife is. Won Super Bowls. Why wouldn't I trust him, right?
So let me put this in a singular perspective. As a dope boy, right? Me being a dope dealer, my whole survival is based upon, one, my trustability. You have to trust me. You have to know I got good shit, because you as the addict, you're looking for the best shit. And it's very hard for you to get your money. So you don't like wasting your money, right? So me having that product, I have to make myself, one, known for having the best shit, right? And that's what brings people to me. Now, I'm not going to have the best shit all the time, but I'm going to make it seem like I do. And when you as the addict know that my shit, you're looking at it and you see that it's not high quality or whatever, how am I now going to get you to purchase from me? I'm going to make you feel like you're missing out on something, right? I'm going to make you feel like you're missing out on something. One, because I have the reputation of having good shit. That's my reputation. This is in your brain. You hear Thomas Freemy, man, he got that fire. So now it's getting this person to feel like they're missing out on something. As long as I have trust, I can implement FOMO, fear of missing out. And those are the two elements right there that will get you to clean your bank account out every time. Because we hate to miss out on something. We hate to sit back and say, damn it, man, if I would have gave him my $100, man, I'd have $1,000 right now. We hate that.
We hate it so much that we're even willing to go and look and see how much we have on our credit cards, that maybe I can put this on credit.
Sell our house.
You know what I mean?
If I have you hooked with that trust, you will sell your house for me.
You dirty bastard. Hey, man, but somebody's going to sell it to him, right? You know, there's always going to be somebody that's going to fill the gap.
That's right. And now, Sean, my life has come to a point to where I say, let that person fill it, because I know what's in that gap, and I don't want nothing to do with it.
Misery, destruction, and all the stuff that
envy,
comes with
greed, the 7 deadly sins.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
All right. Well, we're at 2 hours, man, and I think we covered a lot today.
We did,
What
man.
do you
This
think?
was a great discussion. I love this right here, man. Just general talk on what's going on, and bringing, you know, articles and facts, and letting people decide what's going on, you know.
And what did you think out there? You know, if you were watching this and you know you stumbled across this today, I want to hear your opinions. I want to know how you felt about this. I want to know if you think we should keep this up, keep it going, do it again next week. If that's something that you think is good and that you enjoyed, and there is be a need for that, put a message somewhere.
Absolutely. Maybe
You
we
can,
can even do like a half hour where people can call in. We could take some guests.
yeah, we can do that too. Like I said, I got folks over on the Clubhouse. Not a whole lot of people were over there, but we got 1,900 likes on the TikTok. We had a bunch of people flow through there. What I need to do on this TikTok is I need to figure out a way to get my iPad into my mixer. Because if we get into the mixer, then they can hear our conversation back and forth. Where, you know what I mean? You don't have to be on in order for them to hear anything, and they don't have to be on YouTube in order to hear the clips.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be able to hear it directly through there. Because right now they can't get into the they can't hear you, and they can't hear the clips, so it's just dead silence when I'm playing these clips, and so they're not really able to join in that way. So we got to figure that out, because I think
Well, they can't hear me anymore, because when I was live with you on TikTok, they could hear me.
they could hear you, yeah, but they couldn't hear the clips that I was playing.
Right.
So when I would play
yeah.
a clip, they'd be like, "Oh, we can't hear it," and I'm like, "Ah, shit."
Just take your ass bring your ass to our channels, subscribe, and watch that way. I mean, that's why we go live on TikTok, to try to pull audience. Listen, people, I mean, if you really mess with us, you like us, you dig us, we're doing this, one, because this is our passion. But this passion does not pay anything unless you guys help us in distributing, getting this out, sharing it, liking. First and foremost, so how the algorithms work is, first and foremost, off the likes. You have to look at it like this here. These algorithms, their main focus is to keep you, the listener, on their channel as long as possible. So when people are liking and they're sharing what they're seeing, that algorithm knows this is a hot topic right now, right? There's a lot of people liking, there's a lot of people sharing. This is the importance of liking the videos on TikTok. You know, you're constantly liking, you're constantly sharing. That gets this out there in front of the boards, and we can get these thousands of, and then that helps us do our passion, you know, that we love. And it's a community thing. Going back to what we said, it's a community thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost just looking at it like a slot machine. And so once you start commenting and liking it, it starts racking things up. It's like ring, ding, 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 ding.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so you get into the to the algorithm, and it just starts rewarding you. Bam, 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 bam. You ever had it's crazy when I have one TikTok that did 135,000 views, and it was crazy to watch it, because it was like one of those things. And once it gets into that, I'm sorry, but I have to keep going back to it, right? Because it's a dopamine hit. I'm just like, every time I hit another 1,000, it's like a jolt of adrenaline, right? And so like I would turn it off, and I would look at it like 5 minutes later, another 1,000 views, and it's like, holy shit, right? Well, that's what happens. It gets into the algorithm, and it starts just like going bing, 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 and starts hitting.
And same with me. I just broke my 100,000 views for the first time, and I got up to, I think, the same as you. And yes, it's that euphoric feeling of one, I think, acceptability, knowing that, you know, yes, look at, okay, yeah, I get 400 views, 500 views, 1,000 views, but now when you get up to 50,000, 60,000, 100,000 views, that makes you feel accomplished in a sense. It's a milestone for us streamers. But in order, for me, at least, what I found, Sean, is like when I see, because I got a couple videos that hit up to 70, 60, I haven't broke that 100. But what I find is when it's snowballing like that, when you see that it starts to roll, you have to be active in it. You have to like all the comments, you're responding, even if it's with smiley faces or whatnot, and then they comment, you get a discussion going, and that thing just starts, you know what I mean, going.
Yeah.
Because while somebody's in there commenting, your video is constantly looping. It's playing. You know what I mean? So if you can get a discussion going in your video, that really helps that analytic firestorm take off.
This guy's funny as fuck, man. All right, so TJ Burns, and I agree with everything you just said. You gotta like
you gotta work it.
Like the algorithm. Once you get in there, and what you're explaining is, and by commenting and doing the things that you're doing, you're like blowing,
right,
trying to blow that fire up. You know what I'm saying? You're blowing on the fire, trying to get it to ignite even more, and then you want the men to use woof.
People have no clue. People have no understanding of how much work goes into what you and I do just to get us a couple views. You know what I mean? Just to get us a couple views. A lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of dedication. You know what I mean? Just for some guy to flip us on for 10 seconds and say, look at these two assholes, and flip us off.
And this one's not even my main shit, right? This is just like filler. This is filling in between my main episodes that I drop on Mondays. So I just think that it's important. There's not enough people talking about this type of stuff. And if you like this type of stuff, and if you like what we're talking about, do us a favor, man. Go over and subscribe on YouTube. Hit my what the fuck am I trying to say? Hit the website, SeanDustin.com. Go over there and subscribe to all my places, all my links and everything. All my social media is over there. You can all my stuff's there. Even guest appearances. You can review my podcast there. You can do all kinds of shit there.
Yeah, and before we get off, let me throw this out there as well too, because I didn't drop, but I have a raffle going as well. If you guys like supporting homeless, I have a project. I'm a nonprofit founder. I didn't mention this at the top, but I'm a nonprofit founder here in Florida. You can go to www.cominghomecoalition.com. We have a raffle going at the end of the month, the end of March, to win Tampa Bay Rays baseball tickets. There's other prizes as well, but it's all to help our project Start Fresh, which is we take one homeless person. And this homeless person isn't just somebody that's laying around doing drugs or has completely given up, but this is a homeless person who has still the fight in them, and they're still motivated. They're getting up, trying to accomplish every day. It's just that they're in a hole that is insurmountable to that one person. So we take that person and we facilitate them all the way back into self-sufficiency by holding raffles and fundraisers and things like that. So please, Coming Home Coalition. Again, you can just Google Thomas Free Me to find all my platforms and that. So I just want to throw that out there. I appreciate that.
Yeah, find Thomas there. I should have thrown that up there. I'll do it the next time. It's
we'll
cominghomecoalition.com. I'm going to read the last two comments here because we really appreciate TJ for coming off of TikTok and following us over on YouTube. And hopefully you've subscribed to our channels as well. But he said, you guys nailed a lot of things on the head. Very interesting stuff for sure. And then a funny comment, we need a dance off between you two on TikTok to help that algorithm.
Hey, I could do that now. If we get, hey man, you know, if we can get to, I don't know, 50,000 likes on our show, maybe if we put together a show, maybe we'll do a little break dancing.
Yeah, I do follow some guys that do some dancing stuff on TikToks, and they show you how to do the moves and slow and everything else. This is one cool dude, man. Every time he does it, it's like, you know, he plays like a lot of the old rap music. Hold on, wait, it has that specific beat to it that you can do the slow pop lock stuff. You know what I mean? That I don't know. It's hard to explain.
You know what I
It's in my
got?
head. It's in my head that I can do it, but
I mean,
try to
aside
do
for
it
the
and I
silliness,
can't.
because I'm not really a silly person,
We're
right?
talking about.
But I
Go ahead.
I have baseball cards. Man, I have a whole store. I'm looking at them right now. A whole box of baseball cards from the 80s, right? And I want to do something with this to one, raise awareness, to help grow. I have so many things to give away. So maybe we can start doing giveaways on TikTok, right? If we start achieving something, maybe we can come up with something like that. As far as, see, my biggest thing, I don't get into, because for me, and I know as Sean as well, we both talked about this. Our agenda is not likes and subscribes. You know what I mean? With me being in the prisons I've been in, I could easily come on here and talk about a lot of what these people talk about when they come home from prison and they have 100,000 subscribers. I could come home and talk about that stuff as well. That's not what I do because it keeps the stigma going. It's misinformation, and a lot of it is false. A lot of these people that we see on YouTube with these convict channels, they weren't even in the action like that. These were the cowards that were hiding behind windows watching the action go on, because you would never see a soldier coming back from the front lines of war bragging about the war that he was just in. So I refuse to.
That's a great fucking point, man.
You just don't see it. You know, these soldiers are coming back and they're telling you, man, listen, that is not a place to be. Keep your ass out of the service, son. Do not go to war, you know. And that is what both you and I message is, because of your experiences with addiction and prison and being in the bottom, as well as mine, you know. So we're here to tell you guys not to do this. That is our mission, our goal. It's not for likes and subscribes. So for me, dancing and doing silly stuff like that, you'll never see me do. You know, I won't get into stuff like that. But I'm not calling anybody out on that. I'm just saying that with me, you'll never see that type of interaction. You know, this is serious stuff, and I'm about connecting us, like TJ, like you say. That's a beautiful thing, because that shows you here's an American citizen who is willing to contribute, and that's what we're asking us to do, is to contribute. You know, all of us have to take part in this.
Yeah, but it's not even, you know, we're not even asking for a monetary contribution. Just contribute a like, contribute a subscribe or a review on iTunes. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff doesn't cost any money. It just takes a couple pokes and swipes and you're done, you know? And
Well,
so, oh shit.
Well, us being nonprofits, we definitely are asking for monetary donations in that aspect. But with that being said, and I can vouch for this gentleman right here, right? With that being said, your money that is donated to our nonprofits, you know, is going to what we say that is going to, and that we are actually doing the things that we're doing to try to help our community.
Yep. And I didn't realize that I knew who TJ was. I've been on his show. He was a prison guard for 6 years, and I can say our system is broken. Remembering him from Just Be a Dad podcast. Yeah, I went on him with Dylan Busby, another friend of mine that's a podcaster as well. What's up, man? Thank you for contributing and participating in the comments and supporting what we do, because that's it. I mean, that's huge right there, just to have that kind of support, people coming in, commenting, and that boosts the algorithm too. So yeah, it's all about the damn algorithm, and AI is coming and it's all about algorithms, man. So yeah.
And TJ, I'm at the point where I used to say that these things were broken, but I don't say that anymore, because I feel that these things are operating exactly how they designed them to operate. We as the oppressed are saying that it's broken because we're in the oppressed fashion of it. but these people are implementing their plan, and they are screwing down the nuts and bolts on us.
It's tightening everything up, man, and it's lockstep, and it's slow.
Lockstep. That was such a great analogy.
Yeah, dude, it's lockstep, man. It's slow, controlled, movements that funnel people where they need them to go, funnel the populations, right? Of all, and this is the crazy, and all you have to do is just look at this one thing. If you don't look at nothing else, just look at this one thing. When in our lives has every single country been in lockstep with each other on how they rolled out everything in the last 3 years? It was all the same, all across the board, all at the same time. When have we ever been like that? And then the other countries that didn't were like Russia and China, and they did all their own things. But for the Western states or the Western countries like Australia, Canada, all of the World Economic Forum type of supporting places or supporting countries were all in lockstep with each other and doing the exact same thing at the exact same time, giving the exact same messages.
I mean, there's so much research for people to go at. Just go look at how Australia, the citizens of Australia, gave up their guns. Go research into that, and you will see that the same method is being implemented here. And we have Americans that are willing to give up their guns, right? So it's understanding that they are not reinventing the wheel. They are just using methods from prior generations that us as human beings now in this time have no concept of, because it's not in our physical brains. But these people have implemented this throughout time. I mean, they use, listen, is at the end of the day, right? Going back to the top of the message, man. For you as a human being, you just understand what is spiritually right and spiritually wrong, and just adhere to that, adhere to your life. Do not allow anything outside of your physical universe, what's in your cipher, bother you. Don't let anything bother you. Russia's got nukes. Okay, who cares? What can I do about it? Don't care. The earth is flat. Okay, great. Humans still treat each other like pieces of shit, whether it's flat or round. How does that change the price of eggs in Publix? Right? None of this stuff matters, right? Okay, black people were the first people on earth. Okay, great. I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me. Well, how does that change the price of eggs? Right? How does that change the fact that when I go out in the public, I'm being called names? It changes nothing in our lives. These presidents change nothing in our lives. Go out and just be your best self. Help your neighbor. Love your neighbor. Love the person in front of you until they give you a reason not to. Stop thinking everybody's racist, because you've been told that they're racist. Most people think that all these people are racist, have never even dealt with true racism in their life. They're just told that they're being dealt with racism. It's just stop all this stuff and be a good person, man.
Yeah, judge people by the content of their character and how they interact with you and how they interact with the people around them. That's the best measuring tool of a good person. Like, how do they act around other people? How do they treat other people? How do they treat you? Do they treat you like, you know what I mean? And it's like the content of somebody's character. MLK said that. Martin Luther King, don't look at what you're being told. Look at how you're being affected, and look at how you're able to interact with the world around you, and let that be your guide, right? Your guide as to what's going on. Because if you're listening to what people are telling you, I mean, just like anything, everything that we know is because somebody told us. We haven't seen a lot of stuff on our own, right? That's why and I'm not going to get into like a flat earth discussion, and I'm not a flat earther, but um these it's just there's so much to it, man. There's so much to it. And I
It could
just
be in
lost my train of
anything.
thought. I just lost my train of thought, and that was me trying to like ad lib something because I couldn't remember what I was just saying.
Well, no, but
Um,
that's exactly it. You're on point, and I know that you get it. You know, and it's hard for us, Sean. Of course, it's hard for us because of we want to feel accepted and status quo and feel like we're part of something. But as long as we believe in ourselves, we love ourselves, and we know that we have purpose. We have purpose. I don't have to be like you. I don't have to believe what you believe. I don't have to know what you know. That's not what my purpose is. My purpose is to understand what I've experienced, my personal experiences, to process those, understand those, and grow from those. That's all it's about.
yep. If you're the same person you were a year ago, you're not doing life right.
Mm.
What you're supposed to be here doing is becoming a better person, learning the things that you don't know, learning the things that you do that affect people around you in a negative way, because we all do in some way, shape, or form. Nobody's perfect. And figure out how to get through this thing called life, because we don't get an instruction manual on how to get through it,
Mm.
right? You either have rich parents that pull you through it, or wealthy, or you come from wealth, or you have to figure out a way to get through it on your own. You know what I mean? And when you don't have the playbook, you're just failing, and you know what I mean? It's trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. You know what I mean? And for us, we had a lot of trials and we made a lot of errors, and that
Mm.
brings us to where we're at because we had to pay consequences for those errors, right? And we seen and we learned a lot from those errors, and hopefully, you know what I mean, that we are not going to go back to that same situation that we were in, because we realize that we are wasting a lot of time by being there, and the other people that are there are a bunch of talented people too that made bad decisions and mistakes, and a lot of them are never going to see the light of day, and they're very talented, right? I was super surprised when I went to prison and seen how many fucking artists there were there that
Mm.
that create beautiful fucking pictures, right? Beautiful paintings. You have leather workers, people that just have all kinds of creativity within them, people that can sing their ass off, play the guitar. Like, there was so much talent locked away and will never get to see the light of day because they made a mistake.
But you know why? You know why you see all that talent in prison, Sean?
Why?
Because these are human beings that have time on their hands.
Mhm.
They have time to look within to find who they are, what they like, don't like, explore different things, because they're not distracted with everything that's going on in life. These are individuals that have the opportunity to find themselves. That is
That's
why
true.
you see so much talent in prison.
But it was stuff that they had before, right? They weren't just tapping into new things. They were
No,
tapping into the old things that they had picked up at some point
the
and never
maybe
had a
maybe
chance, never had a
maybe
chance as a child
that's
to
right, because their parents
to
told them they'll never go nowhere with that.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's exactly right, Sean, because as children, this is why it's very important that you let your child be a child. If you see that your child is playing with dolls, let them play with dolls, because in his mind he don't know that he's playing with dolls. He's constructing. He's he or she. They're formulating in their mind, they're constructing, they're imagining, they're growing upon the skills that particular human being is growing in. And then when we step in as adults because we're scared of stigma, oh, what's Johnny next door gonna say if he sees my boy playing with dolls in the yard? You know what I mean? So we tell Johnny not to play with those dolls. And that automatically kills that creativeness that child had. And we'll go through the rest of our life chasing something, being so miserable because we're so scared to go down that road because we've been told not to. When we go to prison, we are at the end of our rope. We don't give a shit anymore because society already looks at us like we're misfits. So now I can expound upon whatever it was that I wanted to be, because who cares?
Yeah. No,
And
that's a
then
good
the
point.
atrocity behind all of this is that when we come home, we had the American society has been made to look at us like we are career criminals and that we're unintelligent and that we're horrible people. One, because we know the truth now and we're coming out of prison telling the people the truth. So they have to make us look like evil demons so that nobody listens to us. But they also want us. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, why do you think that they don't allow us to have guns as a punishment for being a felon and having gone to prison? One of the reasons is because we've seen the fucked up shit that and the people that are in there that have been targeted, you know what I mean? And so if you've been, you know, targeted and put into a situation that affects your life and your ability to earn and your family and everything else, would you want those folks to get out and have access to guns and come after you? As the people that put them away? And you know, if you know anything about the DEA and the federal system, you'll know that a lot of this stuff is manufactured, and the way that they get people into prison is not really legit. There are some legits, like, you know, Jeffrey Dahmer. That was a real, you know, that was a real problem for society, right? You know, and there are these individuals that, you know, do need to be there, but there's a whole lot of them that were coerced into doing the things that got them there, or that were told on somebody, you know, that may have, you may have done something in your life. You may have sold some drugs maybe, but you moved on and you got out of that. But somebody can just come along and say, hey, this guy sold me, you know, a pound of cocaine or meth or whatever for a whole year. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to take that guy's word. They're going to come pick you up. They're going to arrest you. They're going to indict you for selling 12 pounds of drugs because this person told the police that, and they're never going to do any investigating on it. They're not going to corroborate that you did that. They're not going to go and ask other people that you did that. They're just going to listen to Johnny, who's been incentivized by getting time off of his sentence to tell a story that they need them to tell, to get more convictions, so this person can rise up to the ladder of success in the DEA or the FBI or this or wherever the fuck it is, right? And then, you know, the 98% conviction rate still goes. You know, they get the money from the federal government because they keep that conviction rate high, and it's just all a fucking machine, man. It's all a machine. And then you've got Unicor, which is in the federal system that Walmart uses, McDonald's uses, all of these companies that are in BlackRock and Vanguard that are invested in all use prison labor, right? The Air Force uses it, the military uses it. I talked to somebody, a women's prison, where they sandblasted Humvees for the government as a part of the Unicor program. So they're making a shitload of money on these for-profit systems like Unicor, while we are giving the government with our tax dollars $40,000 a year per inmate, or I think it's 44 per inmate per year, right? But you have a for-profit business that these inmates are working and making money for some private corporation that, you know, I believe the number when I talked to an accountant that was working there during the pandemic, because all the people had free phone calls during the pandemic. So I was able to talk to a bunch of federal prisoners that were in there on ghost dope charges. And she said that they profited like 500,000 or 500 million the particular year. Dude, 500 million could pay for all of those inmates and pay for that prison and the guards and everything else without taxpayer money. But we're not going to do that because, you know, some corporation somewhere needs to make money on that slave labor, because that's really all it is. Slave labor.
No, I mean that's
So
that's
anyway.
and Unicor is a perfect example of that, because like you say, we're accustomed to saying that the inmate gets $36,000 a year. Let's say, you know, that's how much. It's way more than that. It's way more than that, because that figure right there is specifically for that inmate and how much it causes to house that inmate, not what that inmate generates, right? So again, that is being taxed as well. I was in the federal system when they transitioned from the private contracts to the government contracts with Unicor because of the lawsuits, because of, as you said, slave labor. So Unicor had private contracts with private businesses, furniture companies, all kinds of private companies,
Call centers.
where call centers, where these unicorns that was in a precise prison that was in a certain town could use a call center, could use an automotive breakdown mechanic shop, whatever it was, and the inmates were not paid for that. But a lawsuit came out specifically over the furniture that it was unfair that this company had a contract with the prisons, getting their labor from them because they could reduce their price at such a rate that other competitors could not compete. They could not compete with the price because these are American citizens that they're getting slave labor from. So then the Unicorn switched from private contracts to government contracts. So that's exactly it. Anything that is government associated, even if it is a private company that's contracted through the government, can be facilitated through the slave labor of Unicorn. But I want to go back to the question about the guns. Why do we lose our guns, our gun rights, right? And I also want to add on to what you said in the aspect that when a person goes to prison, a person that goes to prison is what? They're non-compliant, right? These are individuals who do not comply. And history shows that any government control has always tried to eradicate the alpha mind, right? The rebellious. They tried to get rid of the rebellious. They tried to eradicate the rebellious at all costs, whether incarcerate them, kill them, mutilate them, take away their guns. So this is one of the reasons why we lose our two most established rights, our voting rights and our gun rights, becoming a convicted felon, because we have a rebellious mindset. We're non-compliant.
Yeah, those are all great points, man. I think I'm out of gas.
Yeah. No, this is great. It's been a great show, man. And
I'm out of gas.
A shout out to one of my subscribers, Chris. Chris has been on all my platforms, man. He loves the conversations, but it's like he says, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And this is why we do what we do, because there are people out there that need to hear these messages, because of the chaos that's going on in their life that is affecting them on a personal level. They stay in an emotional state. They may have a lot of stuff going on at their home in their personal lives, and then they go to work and they're under pressure at work from their boss, co-workers, and they get into this huge, toxic, chaotic bubble that they just don't know how to get out of or control. And that's what our messages are, is listen, just don't care. Don't care. Man, I don't give a shit what my boss says. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Do not care. Don't care. I'm going to be my best self, and I'm only going to do what this human can do. And if there's anything outside of that, then I'll have to readjust my life to eliminate these stressors. But I'm not going to let people stress me to that level anymore. I'm not. Because when I'm gone, guess what happens? They just replace me, but my life is over.
Yep. You're extinguished, man. Your energy is complete. So I think it's a great point to wrap it up on, man. So Thomas, tell everybody where they can find you.
Thomas Free Me. Just Google Thomas Free Me. You can find me everywhere. Facebook, TikTok. TikTok's my largest. But more importantly, again, www.cominghomecoalition.com. Eddie needs more help than I do. I have a roof over my head at this point. But great conversation. Look forward to doing this again next weekend. Love to see all you guys again next weekend, and hopefully we can get a ball rolling on this. I want to delve into jealousy. I'd love to have a long conversation like this on envy, jealousy, the cause and effects of all that stuff, what that looks like. Yeah.
Is that it right there?
Yep. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, there you go. So a little slow on that, but cominghomecoalition.com. And let's talk about it. We'll discuss what we're going to talk about, and then when I program the live stream on StreamYard, then I'll throw the topics in there, what we're going to be talking about. So if you want to catch us again next week, we'll be the same bat time, same bat channel, 4 a.m. Pacific. That's what time I usually get up, and then we're going to do 7 a.m. Eastern. I'm from the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast. My name is Sean Dustin, and thanks for joining. Thanks if you're on TikTok. Thank you if you're on Clubhouse. Thank you as well. We got a couple people over there still. Appreciate it. As always, keep it 100. Stay true to yourself. Everything else is just noise.
Just noise. Peace. We out. Thank you.
See ya. All right, let me end.